live. Morgan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I'm excited to have you on. I found out about you. I told you prior to this interview that I saw you on Rhonda Patrick's show, and the stuff that you're doing is quite intriguing, very interesting, and I love your work. So I'm happy to have you on here and dive into it.
Yep. Yeah, I love that kind of stuff.
Awesome. For people that don't know who you are, have never seen you before, have never heard of you, tell people a little bit more about like who you are, what you do, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. So I'm currently assistant professor at Yale in the Department of Pathology in the medical school. My lab focuses on the biology of aging. So we do a lot of work on kind of two different things. So one is, can we actually quantify what's happening in cells or in bodies as they age? And then number two, that some people might think is even more important, can we do anything about that? Can we modulate it in any way to slow the rate at which aging occurs or even potentially reverse it?
That's a lot. It's a lot.
Keeps me busy.
Yeah, I bet. Have you guys collaborated? I know you're at Yale and David Sinclair's at Harvard. Have you collaborated with him?
Yeah, actually. So I was on the paper he did on reprogramming in the eye. So that it came out in Nature, I think, 2021, although I could have my dates wrong. But yeah, we worked with him on that because we do a lot of stuff on epigenetics, which is the thing he also was interested in.
Yeah, absolutely. No, he's great. I take his NMN, NR, what else? Quercetin, fisetin, resveratrol. What else? There's some other stuff. Berberine. I take some berberine, all the good stuff, basically. Yeah. That's cool. So in the past, I would say 5 years, right? Which 5 years, it's not really that long considering how long humans have been alive and how long everything's been here. But in the past 5 years, what has been like the biggest breakthroughs in epigenetics, like technology?
Yeah, so probably this thing, reprogramming, that I actually alluded to a second ago, which is just this idea that you can express 4, and actually in David's paper, it was only 3 of these genes, and you can change the epigenetic kind of pattern in a cell that actually can convert it back to a younger state. So this was originally discovered when they're trying to actually make embryonic stem cells. But what they also found is it reverses kind of these aging patterns as well.
Wow. So let's just get the cat out of the bag. Why do people die? What's the actual reason? Like, not if they get hit by a bus or they get ran over by a tractor, but like, why do people die from getting old? We'll break it down.
Yeah. So I think, some people have different answers to this, but the way I like to think about it is I like to think of our bodies in terms of being very complex, but amazing systems. So through evolution and then our development, everything, our, bodies are arranged in a very specific way that allow us to do all the amazing things that a human could do.
Right.
Unfortunately, that configuration doesn't last forever, and you'll get these small perturbations that happen. And over time, the system is just not arranged in a way that supports function. And I think it just becomes more and more incompatible with life. Some people joked when I use that term, but that's the way I think about it.
No, absolutely. Have you guys worked with a lot of telomeres and like the lengthening and shortening and the end caps and all that stuff?
Yeah, we actually do some work on this, although it's a little bit different from, I think, the way people usually think of telomeres, that they think, shortening drives aging. But what we can actually do in cells is we can what's called immortalize them. So you give them very long telomeres that they can maintain. And we can actually, through epigenetic marks, see that they continue to age and actually age fairly quickly. So it's a little bit paradoxical, I think, to the concept people have of telomeres.
Did you hear, do you listen to Lex Fridman?
Not as much. No.
Okay. So Lex Fridman, he just had a podcast with this one guy. I forgot his name. I could look it up, but he was great. And he's a geneticist out of Cornell, right? Mm-hmm. One of your Ivy League brothers. And he, for whatever reason, he's like very into space and space travel and then studying people from a genetics point of view when they come back into space. And with all the radiation of going into space and with telomere length, that, anecdotally, you would think that by coming back onto Earth from outside of the planet, that your telomeres would get shortened because of radiation. Your body is reacting to this completely foreign area, like we've never been there as Homo sapiens. But what they found out was when the people came back from space and these astronauts came back, their telomeres actually increased like pretty drastically. So is that like a sign of whatever you believe in, the universe or whatever's out there, or planet species, like Elon's pushing? Is it a sign that the only way to live forever is to get off Earth?
I don't know if that's because I think that's probably based on a pretty small, if it's the study I'm thinking about, right, where they studied the twins, the Kelly twins.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, an N of 2 is hard to base that on, but right. I mean, technically, according to physics and relativity, going to space should slow our aging down. But yeah, there are all these other things. And I think there was some data to using other outcomes that, it was not beneficial. So yeah, there were some deleterious things about going into space.
That's interesting. Yeah. We don't have gravity, but we can live either forever or much longer. What are some animals that, because the biggest thing about humans is we don't regenerate cells, correct? Like once they die, they die. And you could stress yourself out with heat stress, cold stress, what do you call it? What's the broccoli sprouts? Sulforaphane. You can stress your body out. You can use these stressors, right? And then it will increase your lifespan because it gives, in a non-scientific way, I view it as it gives your body life. It gives you a reason to live. When somebody retires, not everyone, but when a lot of people retire from their job, they have no purpose. They end up dying very shortly. When people are married together for a long time, like my grandparents, my grandma was in great health. My grandfather died. Within 2 years, she died. She was in amazing health. And typically when there's a couple that lasts a long time and they've been together for 50, 60, 70 years, one of them dies. The other one, not always, obviously, but the other one feels that their purpose is over and they don't want to be here anymore. And it doesn't really matter what the mechanism of action is. It's just the mindset that I don't have a purpose here anymore. There's some weird thing, even in someone that is relatively healthy, dies. So with having said that, I think that stressing the body out gives your body a subconscious reason to keep going, right? To keep reproducing, keep fighting, keep hunting, all the ancestral living type of ways are. And in this, animal primordial body that we have with this evolved civilization, right? Like humans haven't changed in thousands of years, but the world has, which is pretty crazy if you look at history with like Marcus Aurelius and all these people that, that speak literature. You're like, wow, they were so insightful. And this was 1,000 years ago. And there's people now that aren't even close to these people and look at the technology. Like humans haven't changed at all. So my whole point of saying that is when you're stressing the body out, it gives in my mind, at least in a non-scientific way, just from like a street pseudoscience way, it gives your body a reason to keep going, right? With the heat, cold, sulforaphane, plant toxins, whatever, right? Sprinting, exercise, you're stressing your body out. Like everything that is good is stressing your body out and then you recover. So animals, so what animals regenerate cells? I believe it's turtles, right? Turtles and cockroaches, they can regenerate cells.
Well, we have like a stem cell pool that we can, but we're not going to like grow a limb. So, there are things like salamanders that can grow a limb, or actually even some worms that you can cut them in half and they're fine. We do have some organs that can do this though, hypothetically. So technically you can cut off a piece of your liver and it should regrow. So there's some regenerative capacity, but yeah, if I, lose my finger or my arm, I'm not going to suddenly get it back unless you sew it back on.
No, for sure. Also eating liver too. It's kind of disgusting, but everyone around me, they're like, oh, you're going on this weird, like ancestral eating. And I've only been eating, this is disgusting for the viewers, but I've been eating liver, which is not too bad. I've been eating liver, I eat beef heart, and then there's like pancreas, everything. I've been eating a lot of organ meats and I've been trying to, but I'm also an extreme person where like from the biohacking area, because if you look at tribes, like civilization tribes, they wouldn't touch the muscle meat. They would only eat the organ meat and they would actually give the muscle meat to the dogs, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. Even tribes today in like Africa that are off the land in Tanzania and stuff, Uganda, they all eat the organ meats. And when a pack of wolves attack an animal, you know this is, and when they kill the animal, the alpha wolf gets the liver, right? They all go for the organ meats, and then what's ever left over is what we go to steakhouses and spend $350 at fine dining, right? So my whole point of saying that is I've been trying this like organ meat only. Not only, like I still drink like moringa powder, and I still eat like vegetables and stuff, but I've been eating, as far as like my meat consumption, it's been organ meats, no muscle meats. And I'll tell you what, like I feel so much better and stronger and more energy. And yeah, I don't know. I know obviously it's anecdotal, but I don't know. There's something to it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't eat organ meat, so I can't say. And
Most people don't. Most people don't.
Good.
It doesn't taste as good.
Yeah, my dad talks about when he was growing up, he had to eat liver and onions, so I guess maybe it was more of a thing of the past.
He was probably really healthy.
Yeah.
Your dad was probably a stud.
He was an athlete, so yeah.
There you go.
But he did not like liver. But yeah, he ate like cow tongue and so.
Oh,
sorry,
I haven't gone that. Yeah, I haven't gone that far yet, but you know, I'm open to it.
Jewish diet.
Yeah, there you go.
Diet.
I'm part Jewish too, so yeah. Yeah, so there you go. When you obviously like you won't regrow a limb, right? But correct me if I'm wrong. Like turtles, they regenerate their cells in general, not just limb regeneration. Like just overall, like immune system, everything. Turtles will regenerate. They have some mechanism in their body that can regenerate cells. That's why they live to like 150 years old. Is that correct?
I'm actually not sure about that.
Why do they live so long?
I think that's a major question. I mean, there are whole labs studying this what we call comparative biology in aging. Yeah. How come there are species that are not that different from us genetically that can survive way longer than we can, and then there are other ones that survive, 3 years. What is it that enables kind of this median or maximal species lifespan? And I think it's a really interesting and important question that I don't think we know the answer to yet.
Yeah. What has been the biggest lately, right? I usually don't like doing podcasts where it's about current events because I like the podcast to age. So like if someone listens to this in 5 years, it still sounds like we did it yesterday. But I have to ask you, because you're at the cutting edge of this stuff, is what has been the biggest conundrum that you've ran into in your lab lately that it's been a problem where you guys have just not been able to figure it out, and then maybe you had a little bit of a breakthrough, but you guys are just like puzzled. You're going into the weekend like frustrated.
I mean, I think for us, we know epigenetics is a really important thing in aging, and we can use epigenetic patterns to track aging and make predictions, but we have no idea why these changes occur or what drives them. Now there's some evidence of maybe how they can be reversed, but we have no idea how to understand this program that we use and study on a daily basis. So
I think I heard Peter Tia, he was it him? It might have been actually David Sinclair too, but they were drinking diet soda with sucralose, which is a sneaky way of saying Splenda, by the way, guys, heads up, which is in every energy drink and everything. They don't say Splenda, but it's sucralose. Sucralose is Splenda. Anyways, fun fact. I think it was Peter Tia, and someone was like, "Oh, you're drinking." He might have been drinking alcohol. Actually, now that I think about it, it was either Diet Coke or alcohol. But either way, he was drinking something that is not like promoting, like
I think it was
immortality.
Maybe I heard something about someone drinking.
Yeah,
talking about diet drinks. So
exactly. And then someone kind of basically like confront him not in like an aggressive way, just like if me and you were hanging out, like, Morgan, why are you drinking diet soda? You're studying longevity. And his response, and obviously he's a super genius and one of the richest guys around, his response was, drinking this and drinking alcohol and doing other things is not going to move the needle. You might lose 1 to 2 years on your life drinking Diet Coke. Like, are you going to lose 20?
I think it's that much.
Yeah, exactly. You might lose 1 to 2 years. So I want to enjoy my life while I'm alive. What's really going to move the needle is something completely different than us, even eating sugar or having a snack or having ice cream after a long day, right? I think a lot of people get caught up in that mindset that it have to be perfect. But in reality, it might not be good for your fitness goals. You might not feel the best. But if you eat one ice cream cone a night, considering you don't have like a genetic disposition for high blood pressure or whatever, what is it going to do? You might lose a year off your life. So instead of dying at 89, you die at 88. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel most people don't think that.
I'm more in moderation. I do think, there are definitely lifestyle things we should be doing, but you don't have to be perfect every day, day in and day out. Like, it's moderation. It's being more or less having good health behaviors. And yeah, I agree. Health behaviors, they'll get us so far. And yeah, you can see probably 10-year differences, very poor versus very good health behaviors, but not much more than that. And, when you're talking like extreme breakthroughs, no one's going to live to 150 or 200. Sorry to people who are really trying.
Everyone just clicked off. They just went to the Huber Mill Lab podcast.
Yeah. I said based on health behaviors. Science might be able to but yeah.
Well, I think the better. Yeah, for longevity, it's a slippery slope. It's a very tricky subject. I think for health behaviors, it has more of an impact on your vitality versus your longevity, right? Like, I've seen so many people that live to 90, but the last 20 years of their life, they were in pain. They have lower back pain. They have injuries, and versus the people that are healthy, even if both people die at 88, let's say 88 is the age, unhealthy person dies at 88, healthy person dies at 88. The healthy person is going to have a better quality of life. They're going to have more vitality. They're going to feel better. They're going to look better. They're going to be in better spirits. They're going to neurologically, they're going to be sharper. They're probably not going to have dementia or Alzheimer's. They're going to be able to starve off all of those diseases that don't necessarily attack your longevity, but they attack your vitality, like dementia and stuff. And just like movement. How many elderly people in the geriatrics community that they can't even move? Like, if I couldn't go out, like go to the movies or go work out or go in the sauna and, even just sometimes I just jump in the car and I'll just drive. If I couldn't do that, like, man, life would be hard. No. I do have this fantasy of being like Professor X in a chair though. So I don't know, who knows?
Well, yeah, there you go. You just, shave your head, you'll be good.
I don't know. I still got some time left on this hair.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you're not getting that far soon.
Yeah.
But no, I totally agree with you. And I think, I do think a lot of time people think research and the science of aging is focused just on that lifespan number. But in reality, what a lot of us care much more about is this, like what you're saying, this like quality of life, how healthy you can be for how long. And we can look at even the past few decades, humans have increased our median life expectancy, but we haven't increased the time we spend without disease. So we've actually just increased it by keeping people alive in this state of, disease or functional decline. And that, obviously it's great, you shouldn't deny treatment to people, but that's not the goal, right? The goal is to just delay the time in which you start developing any of these conditions. Yeah,
it's a slippery slope too, though. Having said that, is because let's talk about, like growth hormone specifically, right? Low growth hormone is, when you talk about vitality, it's horrible. Mm-hmm. Your hair, you lose your hair, your sleep is terrible, your sleep quality is terrible. You're not going to have any energy. You're going to be tired, especially after the age of 30 or 30, post 30 and beyond. It's a very slippery slope versus people that have extreme amounts of growth hormone. They have great sleep. They have great muscle mass. They're in good spirits. Neurologically, they're sharp. However, most people that have extremely high amounts of growth hormone tend to develop tumors and cancer very rapidly, because growth hormone doesn't just grow your muscles, it also grows your organs, and it grows tumor cells and mutated cells. So it's a slippery slope. Like, I feel like the body, and I'm sure you would agree with this, the body is like a back and forth. Like, too much of something, you'll die. Too less of something, you'll die. You have to be in the middle, or like a slightly above the middle to be optimal, or else if you're too suboptimal, then you're going to run into problems. You're going to feel like complete crap. But if you're too optimal, you're going to die early. So I took a blood test recently, and my growth hormone, my natural growth hormone, was like actually pretty low. And most people would have gotten like upset. They would have been like, "Oh man, like growth hormone, you're not gonna be keeping," especially like the meathead, like gym guys. They'd be like, "Oh, you're not gonna be able to keep a muscle. No more traps for you, bro." But I was actually really happy. I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna live to 100."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there is this like very paradoxical thing with growth hormone, which for centuries in aging research, growth hormone's been considered pro-aging. It's supposed to actually shorten lifespan, and like you said, it can increase risk of cancer. And actually, they find that animals, if you knock out the pathway and actually downregulates it, they live longer on average. But like you also mentioned, there are also other things that you kind of lose, and especially as you age, things like loss of muscle mass and muscle strength, aging. But
loss of memory.
Exactly. There's like this Goldilocks for everything. It's like you don't want too little, you don't want too much. It's like this perfect happy median that somehow we have to all figure out what that is and get there.
No, for sure. What's your thoughts on like hormone replacement, hormone optimization? I'm sure now. Obviously, I'm just making a judgment here, but I'm sure that you're probably against it due to your career path is based on longevity. What's your take on people that are doing testosterone replacement therapy or IGF-1 or HGH?
Yeah, I mean, I think it can be dangerous. And I think we don't understand enough of our physiology to do this in a safe way. Because it's not, these things and all these pathways that get activated by this they have so many widespread impacts, and you don't know. It's not like a car where we know like this. You tune this one thing, you know exactly what it does. Everything's connected. Tuning one thing can totally have off-target effects elsewhere, and our system is so complex, and we have so poor understanding of it that I think we need to be careful a little bit when we.
Yeah. Well, what would you say to someone that has like extremely low tests, or someone like me that has a low growth hormone? Would you recommend just do nothing? And like it's like a slippery slope, right? Do you do a little bit? Like what is someone supposed to do?
I would say it probably depends on the person, right? Like how low are they? Like if you're a little bit older, it might be not as dangerous. But I would say try and figure out maybe the cause of why you might have that. So, I don't know if it would be genetic, but if there's actually, and try and target that because that might be more beneficial than artificially trying to intervene.
Yeah, but most people, it's like, come on, Morgan, like I still want to eat cheeseburgers, and I really don't like working out. But I'm always tired, so I could just take TRT and ride my bike, but I can still eat like crap. Yeah,
that right. The more convenient thing that more convenient you can make something, the more likely people will just go for that.
Yeah. I thought about that when I was younger. I thought if I didn't have to go to the gym and I was perfect, I was like an Adonis, and I was like super strong, shredded, jacked, would I still go to the gym? And when I was younger, I thought, no, I wouldn't do that because it's a waste of time. It's just a distraction, and I could spend all the time I spend working out and going to the gym and doing sauna and doing everything, and I could just spend that doing like business and learning and all the things that I'm into. But as I've gotten older, I realized that at least as in this form of being a Homo sapien, that without effort and without really getting after it, you don't get the same like reward, right? Like obviously you're going to be happy. If somebody give you $10 million, you're going to be happy, like no matter what, right? But I feel like if you earned that $10 million over a period of time and it wasn't given to you, that you would appreciate it. And when it comes to like physical fitness, or especially like when you're doing like heat or cold, you have to earn it because it sucks. You're tired and it burns or it's freezing, and you have this little your reptilian mind that this little person in your mind that's telling you like get out, like you're gonna die.
Yeah.
And you know that you're not gonna die, but your body doesn't know you're not gonna die because you're biohacking, but your body doesn't know what biohacking is because it just knows how to survive. So but it's kind of like working out in the yard where it sucks when you're out there, but when you get home and you jump in the shower, you just feel amazing, right? And obviously these are like mechanisms that are programmed into our DNA. And I thought about that. I said, if I was perfect, would I still work out? And when I was younger, no. But as I've gotten older, yeah, I still would.
Yeah, I think people have to do it enough to know that there is that reward after, and it's hard. It's so hard for people to get over that hump, like the initial hump, right, of actually pushing through. I know even like after an injury, like going back to working out is like it sucks.
It's hard.
And when you're in your routine, it's great.
Yeah, if I take 2 weeks off, which I haven't taken 2 weeks off in probably like 15 years, but I can remember taking 2 weeks off. I was like, oh man, it's hard to get back in there. You know, you have to like incentivize yourself, whether it's strength or competing with somebody else. That's been like the best way for me specifically to, stay motivated and keep going.
Yeah, stay accountable. Or
What
have
can
someone
people
else keep you accountable.
Yeah, exactly. Or have a group or, a Facebook group, or have a group chat with you and all your friends, and then everyone's in a group together, or join a class, go to a class where it's competitive, whether it's hot yoga or a spin class or Pilates, something where you're friendly competitive. Like you guys are competitive, but you guys don't hate each other, where you hope the other person gets passes out. Like you're trying to win the Super Bowl, but like a friendly competitive, like, oh, I beat you this day, but you beat me that day. And I think that's a good way for people that are not motivated to do physical fitness, go with other people and have that sense of community, because you're not just working out for your body. You're also building, you're also using another Maslow hierarchy of needs with your community and building that, right?
Yeah.
What can people do today, like right now? Obviously the science is, limited, but as far as longevity, and I guess we could even talk about vitality, what can people do right now today? They can go on Amazon, buy a supplement, or they can go out and do it right now. What would you say evidence-based, right? There's a lot of, people say this works, that works, right? But it's not true evidence-based. What do we know for sure from you and your lab and from your colleagues and people that in your specific field? What can we do today that actually works?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, and people won't like to hear this, most of the stuff that works is lifestyle, right? It's the hard stuff, not the easy stuff. That's not to say that some of these supplements or drugs won't end up proving out, but I think right now it's, again, they're at the phase where people, want to personally, experiment with them. That's their prerogative, but we can't say that they're going to do X, Y, or Z. But for me, exercise is the one that I don't think there's anyone who's going to argue that exercise is not going to be beneficial for slowing aging and maintaining vitality, like you said. And again, there's debate on how much exercise do you need, what type of exercise is best. But I think, most of us are probably still not getting enough. We could still benefit from more exercise. There's very few people I think are at the extremes where more is not going to be better.
Yeah. Do you think weightlifting versus aerobic, anaerobic versus aerobic, does it matter? Does that matter to you? Do you think it matters?
Yeah, it probably depends on the person, what they actually need. So actually, ironically, I feel like more women do cardio, or they run or do yoga or all these other things, where they actually would benefit much more from weightlifting, because women are more at risk of things like osteoporosis and sarcopenia, which actually the only really good way to prevent these things is through weight-bearing exercises. There's a lot of men too, men are more at risk for heart disease, so doing things that will increase VO2 max or more cardio. So it almost seems like there's a trend to do the opposite. But you probably need a mix of both. I like high intensity training that you have a mix of weight-bearing and cardio. But
I think that's the best as well. Do you think that? Would you agree with this? There was this weird, I don't know where I read it. It was a while ago. And basically to increase or to induce neurogenesis, right? The only studies they had as far as exercise in general was cardio, either high intensity cardio or long range cardio, zone 2 cardio, whatever. They didn't really have any studies at the time for weightlifting, but they did have studies on doing legs and increasing neurons. But when it came to guys bench pressing and doing curls, that made no difference neurologically. But for whatever reason, legs, maybe because it's the biggest muscle, that made a huge difference in in neural growth factors. What would you think? What do you think about that?
I wonder what kind of legs. I wonder if their whole body was actually moving. And, that is interesting. I don't know that study in specific.
Yeah, it was in a couple books too. A couple books.
I'll look this up. There's actually some people might think it's a weird study, but I think it's a really cool study in mice. It was actually by a colleague of mine at UCSF, where they exercised mice and then they took their blood and put it in other mice, and it actually improved memory and cognition in the mice that got the exercise blood. So that to me, there's pretty good evidence that, exercise creates some sort of feedback in your body that then ends up being beneficial.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to like the study where they put the old rat's blood into the young rat's blood and then vice versa. Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that's okay? So do you think it's possible in humans? If you took like a young teenager and injected someone that's 90 years old, do you think they would miraculously become healthier or feel better? Or do you think that only works in animals?
It probably works in humans, but I don't think we should go around trying to find blood boys to harvest blood.
Wasn't there like a queen way back in the day that did that?
Probably.
She would like take baths in blood, like some crazy stuff.
Oh yeah, probably. I know on there's that show Silicon Valley where I think like the billionaire on that show had a blood boy or something like that. But,
oh my gosh.
I think what the data is actually showing is that it's actually there are these things that accumulate in our blood as we get older. And actually, if you could almost just clean those out, and it's not that there's some magic factors in the blood, but just kind of clearing those out gives a beneficial effect. So you might not have to go around and find someone to donate to you.
Well, I don't know how it's like in Connecticut where you are, but here in Florida with the water, you can tell that in the faucet, if you don't have like a filter or you don't have like a reverse osmosis filter attached to your house or condo, that you get these like calcium build up inside of the hose and like in the shower head, and you actually have to like literally replace it and clean it out. It's like this hard coral, like bikini bottom calcium that builds up, right? And I kind of think that's kind of how our blood is. If you never clean it out, like over time, you get a new hose, you get a new shower head, and it's great. But then after, years and years or months and months, you start building up different things, and stuff that's in the water gets built up, and eventually you get a clog. And it's pretty interesting. We just have to figure out a way that actually like works all the time, where you can clean someone's blood out and they go, okay, cool, you're good.
Yeah, exactly. I know there are companies doing this, but again, I think it's early days, and if we can just figure out ways to target for those things for removal or something. For
sure. What's your in that realm? What is your opinion on stem cells?
I mean, they're critical for our well-being. I think the thing I'm most actually
taking exogenous stem cells.
Oh yeah, that
like placenta umbilical cord stem cells.
I don't think we need to, and I actually think in the future there'll be interesting ways where we can actually kind of convert the cells that are already in our body back to a healthier state, and I think that to me is a little bit more exciting. We still have to figure out exactly all the efficacy around doing this. You can do it in a dish and in a mouse to some degree, but I think that's going to be more beneficial than taking banked stem cells or something like that.
But is that even close to being on the horizon?
Kind of. I mean, there's the debate how close it is. Again, if we can figure out how delivery systems and timing of regimens and stuff like that, then hypothetically, the safety thing is something that still needs to be evaluated. But we do know how to take cells back to to what looks like a younger state. In a dish and to some degree in a mouse, but
what were some of the biggest discoveries that, since you've been working at Yale and you've been in the lab with all the colleagues and stuff, what has been like the biggest discovery since you started that you guys have realized actually works as evidence-based science?
I mean, for me, it's probably that. So this idea of reprogramming, that basically you can express just a few genes, like 3 or 4 genes, and you can take a cell that, let's say a cell from a 9-year-old person, and convert it back to what looks like a cell from a newborn.
Wow.
You can do this with lots of different cell types, or you can, take it back a few years by just doing this for a short term, and you can kind of modulate this. To me, this is really exciting. Again, there's a lot of steps that have to happen before this will actually be beneficial to, you and me. But just the idea that it's even possible.
We were born too early.
Yeah, well, maybe we might not be born too early. We'll see. I don't know if it'll take us, that long.
What's your take on CRISPR?
I mean, I think it's an amazing technology. I think, again, I feel like the scientists who worked on CRISPR have thought a lot in a good way about how it should actually somewhat regulated, to not be misused.
Right.
And they've kind of set up rules that for the most part scientists agree upon.
Yeah.
Sometimes people break those rules, but it's an amazing tool in the lab and stuff for science, and has a lot of potential.
It's a slippery slope though, right? Because if you're a wealthy family and you're like, okay, cool, we're going to have a kid, and my grandparents had cancer, and we were kind of short, and I did have that uncle that wasn't too smart. Let's just like change all those things and just make you basically like a group of X-Men where you're super physiological and super genius IQ capabilities and capacities. You look like LeBron James. You're 7 feet tall, but you're built like a rock. Well, yeah, we have the money. Well, obviously, I want to do that for my kids. I don't want my kids to be suboptimal, subprimal, right? How does that not happen?
Yeah, so this is the whole premise for Gattaca, right? The movie that came out
exactly.
a few decades ago. I love that movie.
Love Gattaca. I think it came out in 98, 99. Yeah.
And that's one of my favorite movies. I don't know the date. But I think, right now it's agreed upon that you can't use CRISPR for anything that's going to be passed down, right? So you couldn't do it in an embryo or germ cell because it's going to be passed through generations.
Right.
And so that's the rule. Granted, someone did break this rule a few years ago. So,
Really? What happened?
So there was scientists in China who actually did an edit for a gene, I think, that protects against HIV. Oh my gosh, I hope no scientists listening to this. I don't remember the exact specifics.
There's a lot of scientists that listen to this.
There are two twin girls that ended up being born with this, and he didn't tell anyone until they were born, and this was a huge issue in the scientific.
Even in China, I feel like they kind of do whatever they want over there.
So I feel like he was able to do this, but everyone, there's kind of an international agreed upon rule that we do not do this, but I think. Yeah, I don't know what the current situation is.
Wait, so they altered the gene so the person couldn't get HIV?
Yeah, it's, and I think the thing was that they weren't even at risk for it or something.
Yeah, so is HIV prevalent in China?
I mean, I think he was trying to recruit. See, again, this is where I should know this and actually don't remember.
No, it's all good.
Details of it.
It's all good. It's cold up there,
Yeah, exactly. I'm just emerging from winter. My brain hasn't fully thawed. But I think the other thing that makes it probably less plausible that people have these, quote, designer babies is we have such a poor understanding of how our genes actually map onto these complex traits. So if you were to say, okay, which genes even encode for my height, like which ones would you even have to manipulate, or which ones would actually change my cancer risk? I mean, there are a few we know about, like for breast cancer, we know like BRCA, and there's some Alzheimer's genes, but for most of these things, they're not one gene, they're thousands of genes that all have tiny, tiny effects, and the likelihood you're going to be able to go in and with precision and not off target effects manipulate all of those is
well, let's be honest. Come on, Morgan. Yeah. Come on. Let's be honest. You're telling me that there's not some prince in Saudi Arabia or some Chinese billionaire that's not going to be like, yeah, what was your rules again? Yeah, cool story. We're going to do what we want. And then hire their own team to do it. Like, it's a slippery.
That's the problem, right? Yeah. As these technologies develop, how do you make sure that they're used or they're not used for certain things? And I think
there's no way. It's literally impossible because if it was in one country, like if we were in America or, Norway or something, right? If we were in one country, then yes, I could possibly see it. I still think that the rich elite people will still figure out a way, just like they figure out a way to do everything. But it's going to be drastically more complex for them to figure it out. But when we're talking about other countries do what they want. It's their country. What are you going to do? Go to war with them? No. Obviously, that would cost too much for them. So it is pretty interesting because who's to stop some, foreign billionaire and all of his family and just make these super soldiers, and then you don't do anything. Well, then what? It could get pretty. So then now we're forced to do everything, and now everyone is amazing. So now everyone's not amazing because now average is amazing, but amazing really isn't amazing because average is amazing as average.
Yeah. But then it goes back to your original question, like, isn't it still worth it if you can do it? Like, if you do it on perseverance.
Yeah, exactly. I think, well, what if everyone did it and everyone was perfect? We'd probably still have problems, but it might make a better society if everyone played by the rules. That's the problem. Nobody plays by the rules. Everyone's looking for leverage.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's kind of my thought process on like Neuralink. What's your take on Neuralink?
I think it's a really cool science and technology, and I don't know where, again, it's another thing where there are a lot of things to be figured out before it's going to be what people envision it as.
But don't you think it's going to be like sorcery? Literally, like I can talk to people, you can literally talk to other people, know what they're thinking. It's like, and then it's the same thing with CRISPR, right? Only the rich people are going to be able to afford it. It's going to be super expensive, and then even if they say, "Oh, well, it's not for sale," like you're going to have some like backdoor deals. So that might be worse than CRISPR because now you literally are a super genius. You know everything ever created. You know every language, and you can read other people's minds. Like that's straight up sorcery. Like how do we prevent that from not turning into some crazy technological dictatorship?
I mean, we might not have to because I don't know if the science will ever get that advanced. I mean, we'll see where it is. It's just at the beginning, and it's not even close. And I don't think people have. Again, I'm not on the inside, but I don't know if they have a clear path to know how to get to what they're saying.
Yeah, Elon said, and some of like the people that I know in the space and like brain surgeons and neuroscientists, they say like, it's by far the hardest project. Like it's easier to send rockets into space and come back than what they're trying to do with Neuralink. Like it's by far his hardest project. And obviously he does. It's
very complex. And I'm not so concerned that, in a few years we'll, have completely different human beings with.
Right.
I mean, we still haven't figured out self-driving cars, and that to me is the much
I'm still waiting on the Cybertruck. Where the hell is it?
I heard the Cybertruck's not coming, right? I heard it was done. But
what? Whoa.
This might have been a rumor.
When did you hear this?
Someone says something about that they're not doing the Cybertruck anymore, but again, don't quote me.
Oh, no chance. People will riot in the streets if that's true.
Well, you can get a Rivian.
Yeah.
I like Rivians.
People are like, yeah, cool story. Where's the Cybertruck, bro? Yeah. You don't think if there's a wire implanted in your brain and you have Bluetooth, just like I have my AirPods in right now, you don't think that we wouldn't be able to talk to each other without talking?
You might, but I think, we're still pretty far out from even being able to implant without causing damage and problems and things like that. So.
Well, didn't they do that with the pigs, though? Or was it pigs? I believe it was pigs. They implanted the wire and it worked, and then they took it out and there was no repercussions.
Oh, I don't know about that, but
I believe they put it in and then they took it out. Like they input it in and they extracted it. And
but I think they can't be in for very long, is my understanding too. But again,
maybe it's like a weekend thing. It's like we go to Coachella and you get the Neuralink and you just have a blast and you're like super genius, and then you go back to normal Homo sapien. But I feel like then life would be you wouldn't want to live anymore. It's like Neuralink or nothing.
And then you have everyone at Coachella with us,
and there's no music. Everyone's just listening to music in their Bluetooth headset that's implanted in their mind. Oh man! Shout out to Elon, man. Really going for it.
He does on most things, I think, right?
He's amazing. We need more people like him. It's you look at normal people, and not that there's anything wrong with normal people, but I don't know about you, but I like not normal people, even if they're a little weird. Like I like people that are going for it, and just to be like a sheep and to blend in and just, oh man. Like, I don't understand how people get bored. How do you get bored? Like, I'm so bored. How? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But you don't want to learn anything? I don't know. It's maybe with CRISPR, we could just program people just to be in a learning state, or we could eliminate boredom, right? Or like, what is boredom? What is neurologically causing boredom? And then we just extract that.
Probably inactivity. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Do you like any supplements or peptides on the market now that you would recommend to your friends or you take in secret?
I don't really. I'm pretty risk averse, and I'm happy
Yeah?
other people like want to go first and experiment. I'm risk averse with stuff like that. I'm not risk averse in my career or in other endeavors, but I feel like we'll know in not that long whether things are working, and then I feel like it won't be too late for me to start implementing things if they actually prove out. I mean, I'm pretty I'm basic when it comes to supplements. I take like a B vitamin complex.
You take a B vitamin complex?
Like a multivitamin and vitamin D, and that's like
okay. That's all you take?
Literally, that's it. I'm boring. Yeah.
Oh man. How can you think? Even though primitively we've been
lots of caffeine.
Tons of caffeine. Yeah. Shout out to caffeine. Without caffeine, who knows where we'd be. We definitely wouldn't be close to Neuralink or Crispr. That's for damn sure.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, what is your diet like? You must have a pretty healthy diet to get all your macro and micronutrients. Are you so you're not taking any sulforaphane? Come on, Rhonda. She didn't.
Sorry, I know.
Oh, it's crazy.
No, I'm an outsider. I feel like in this space. Diet, I try to eat lots of vegetables. I do not eat as much meat as most. In fact, I only eat fish.
Really?
Yeah.
How often a week?
Once.
Yeah, that's probably good due to the mercury. Yeah. I'm paranoid about mercury poisoning. I'm petrified about mercury.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I just know so many people that have ate tuna. They would eat tuna every day, and then they would be walking down the street and forget why they're walking down the street. And then they got their blood mercury levels tested, and they're like, "Yeah, dude, you have like extremely high levels of mercury. You need to not eat fish for like 3 months."
Yeah, I'm like once a week if I go out, I'll have fish.
You eat fish,
or I'll have like salmon. I guess.
Yeah, salmon's good. Yeah.
I eat lots. I eat avocados. What else? I mean, lots of it. I love broccoli. I actually really like vegetables, so that makes it a little bit easier.
Really?
I love broccoli and Brussels sprouts and kale.
Do you eat them raw? Do you eat it raw or you cook it?
I don't eat them raw. I steam it usually.
Yeah, because eating it raw, I'd be like, "Damn, Morgan, you're kind of hardcore."
No. I like raw carrots a lot, but not.
Yeah, that's different though. Yeah,
Brussels sprouts raw.
Yeah,
I like sweet potatoes.
Sweet potatoes are good. Yeah, you're not hungry? I feel like you're hungry. I want to send you I want to DoorDash you some food right now.
I eat eggs.
Okay, I eat a lot of eggs.
I like eggs. And I like RX bars if I have to get something.
RX bars are good.
And sometimes, and then I make smoothies and stuff too.
Wow. And then I'm assuming that you exercise. Your exercise routine is like aerobic and weightlifting and everything.
Yeah, although it's been mostly my lift because growing up in California, I don't do well exercising outside in the winter in New England. So we have an elliptical though.
Oh, I see it. I see it. I see it in the background.
Yeah.
You don't go to the gym? You don't have a gym membership up there?
I used to, but I haven't. The gyms out here, no offense to New Haven, they really suck.
Really? There's not a gym in Yale? Why don't you use the Yale gym?
Yeah, the Yale gym, but it closed for a lot of COVID, and then there's like, I don't know. I feel weird just exercising next to undergrad. I love undergrads.
You're young. You're still young. What are you talking about?
I don't know. I exercise at home.
Oh, okay. I'm sure the Yale gym is pretty nice.
Yeah, actually, they have a huge gym. It's a nice gym.
Yeah. I'll use your pass next time I'm in Connecticut.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll work out. I'll work out with the undergrads. But yeah, it's like 30-year-old old guy with gray hair coming in. Wow. So okay, so you exercise.
I'm almost 40, so maybe I'm older than you are.
You're almost 40?
Well, I'm 37. I'd say I'm almost 40.
Oh my gosh, you look great, by the way, for the record.
Thank you.
Well, that's probably because you eat broccoli and raw carrots.
It's all about broccoli. Makes my kitchen smell funky when I cook broccoli. It helps with aging.
Yeah, that's crazy. And do you wear sunscreen when you go outside?
I do. Yeah. So I feel like I was not good at wearing sunscreen for the
When you were younger.
few decades of my life. And then I've been trying to make it.
Yeah. So I've been wearing sunscreen for the past, I would say 3 years, and, to revert to, inhibit and hinder aging and all that stuff. But then Huberman said that, like, with the titanium dioxide and all the chemicals that are in sunscreen and how they cross the blood-brain barrier, that he's surprised that it's even illegal for sunscreen to be on the market. And that was from Huberman. So I'm like, holy shit, like, this is not good. I don't want to get melanoma. I don't want to age, but I also don't want to burn out my neurons from titanium dioxide. So it's like, shit, like, what do? Like, rub dirt on my face? Like, have you ever thought about that?
So I know some people are, like, very concerned about the ingredients in sunscreen, and you can actually find traces of it and, circulating. But for me, there has not been a good study. Again, this goes back to, like, the diet soda stuff. I have not seen a study that made me, like, say, oh, wait, I should probably not be putting this on my skin or, anything like that. But again, I think it's something you can wear a hat and do maybe a little less on screen. Same thing, or, like, just wear longer sleeves, or
right. Well,
do you walk around in, like,
I was dressed like a friggin' astronaut.
Yeah, there you go.
Look like Bubble Boy rolling down the street. Yeah, and it's like, what's the point of living if you're not out in the sun?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm on the fence. I think optimally you go outside with nothing. And you limit it to 15 minutes, around like 15 minutes ish. Anything longer than that, you're starting to prevent skin damage, or you're starting to inhibit, the free radicals and stuff. So I think the happy medium is, like, I think if someone were to approach it, is 15 minutes, no sunscreen, get the vitamin D, get your circadian rhythm going, go outside the second you wake up, and all that jazz that most people already know about. But then just don't spend too much time out in the sun, and you'll be okay. There's so much stuff. Do you drink diet soda and alcohol, or are you kind of shy away from that, or you don't care? You just
I do
go for
some diet, not like Diet Coke. Like, I like Zevias.
But that's not Diet Coke. I have like 3 cases of black cherry Zevias in the fridge.
I love Zevias.
Yeah. But that's different.
So so I drink those. Like, it's not that I won't drink a diet soda, like if I'm at a restaurant or something.
Yeah.
I do not drink very much alcohol. But I've never been. I'm a lightweight, so I've never really been a big drinker because it's like destroys. I'm like a one drink, and, like, that's about all I can handle.
Really?
So.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah, I never drank. Obviously, I've drank before, but, like, a White Claw here and there, and it was only because I was out and I was like, man, I cannot deal with all these normal humans. So then I just started drinking. So I would drink a couple White Claws just to, like, get through the night, because I was there for a friend or something, for, like, a birthday party. But I never got into drinking. I'm like the type of person that anything that goes against becoming, like, a super intellectual or super physiological, I don't do.
You don't,
and then whatever goes towards becoming super physiological or super intellectual, then I'm like all in, even if it's risky. I'm like, fuck it, just send it. Let's do it.
So you're more high risk than I. But with the drinking, I like drinking a wedding, a glass of champagne. I drink, like, maybe 4 drinks a year. So
wow,
probably similar.
Yeah, I think last year I didn't drink anything.
Yeah, during COVID I didn't drink anything because I only drink, like, at weddings or things like that, and I didn't go anywhere. So. Yeah,
if you're, like, at your house, like, just pounding wine and pounding, beers and White Claws all night, that might be a personal problem for sure. Yeah, no, it's interesting. But again, it's the same thing. Like, if you do drink, let's say you drink alcohol every night, like, obviously you're not getting obliterated where you're causing liver failure, but let's say you drink a glass of wine a night, or even if you drink a beer a night, like, even if it's a low quality beer, right? Like a Bud Light, or I don't know. I don't even know the brands, Heineken or something, whatever I see at the store. But even if you drink one of those, right, then is it really going to make a difference? Probably not. You might not feel amazing, but, everything with moderation, even chocolate and sugar, it's like, is it really going to move the needle on you dying earlier? Probably not.
Yeah, I think they see an effect, but they have to look at so many people to see like, the effect size is really small. Obviously, like you said, if you're drinking then
Yeah, if you're
it's going
going
to be
to town,
detrimental.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but like a few drinks a week is not. It's going to raise your risk a tiny. So again, if it's something that is important to you, and
Right.
then you can it's not going to be a huge effect.
So last thing we'll talk about on epigenetics, and then we'll move into your future endeavors if you want to talk about that. Okay, last thing. What's the 80-20 on epigenetics to living forever? Like, if you could just overall give a summary of what to expect, what we're into right now, what's on the horizon, what can people do? Like, what's your 80-20 on epigenetics at Yale?
I think the cool thing with epigenetics now is that we have measures where we can actually track the changes that are happening in cells and tissues and people. And we're actually developing more and more of these measures to give, people a better understanding of everything.
Right.
And then the next thing is like what we need to do to actually intervene and not just monitor these things, but how can you the needle on these things. And that's, I think I'm optimistic about the reprogramming stuff. But again, there's a lot of like Neuralink, a lot of things that we're going to have to figure out before it's like actually relevant to people.
For sure. So what's on the horizon for Morgan? Well, what do you plan on getting into in the next couple of years or decades?
For me, it's can we understand the epigenetic program that we can measure it, we can use it, but we actually have no idea what's driving it, and can we understand what mechanisms actually drive it? And then again, this whole idea of like reversing, right now it just seems like this magical thing, but what is it that's actually reversing it? Can you identify factors that are even better at doing that? Is there a way to target them to different cells in the body? Which cells are actually amenable to doing this? And basically the overall thing is, can you take cells that are dysfunctional and actually force them back to a healthier state?
Well, what's that company that you might actually be an advisor to them? What's the biggest company that is on the horizon that got backed by a bunch of venture capitalists? You know what I'm talking about.
Altos?
Yeah, there it is.
I'm not an advisor. I'm actually joining them.
Oh, is that the one you're joining?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. They're in California?
So they have 3 locations, 2 in California, 1 in San Diego, 1 in San Francisco, and 1 in the UK.
Nice. Are you going to do the San Diego one or the San Francisco one?
San Diego.
Oh, there you go. Shout out to Rhonda Patrick. You guys are going to be best friends.
We're going to hang out and go hiking.
Wow, that's awesome. What's so exciting about Alto? I know that there's so many people invested into it, and there's a lot of people talking about it in the buzz about Alto Labs. What are you most excited about going over there?
Yeah, I think, it's a few things. So one is just they've recruited really amazing scientists. So getting to work side by side with people who come from all these different fields and are not just have a similar goal to us, but are complementary. So they do, different things that actually can work together to actually tackle a really hard problem.
Yeah.
And then probably the other thing is I've loved to be in academia and being in the university, but there are lots of constraints that slow down science. And so just being able to really accelerate and take risks, kind of like we're talking about, like try these really hard things that you might not otherwise be able to take the time to try.
What are they doing right now that's, I guess you could say, a bit risque?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with this idea of cell health. So what is, can you define a health? Can you actually quantify what makes a cell healthy? And are there ways to actually intervene in that and force cells into different states?
Are they a publicly traded company?
No, right now they're private.
They're private. Okay, cool. And what was it about them that, like who's in charge? Like who's funding the whole project? Like what is it about, Alto Labs that everyone in the science community is really hyping them up so hard? I'm sure there has been other startups that tried or is doing the same thing. What is it about them that's so much different? Are they just more risky? Are they taking more leaps? Are they pushing the barrier harder, or do they have like some type of technology that no one has, and they're just advanced as far as like we have something you don't, so that makes us better? Or is it just that they're just trying harder?
I think it's the way they set up the company. Like, I feel like it's a complete paradigm shift for how science has been done. So really this came from Rick Klausner and also with Yari Milner, who so Rick was a former director of the National Cancer Institute, and they basically looked at biomedical science today, both in academia and in industry, and said, what are the best pieces of each, and how can you create something that combines those and not do what everyone else is kind of doing? So I think it's a little bit that coupled with the team that they kind of recruited, who I think, if you put everyone, they basically just they picked scientists. They said, we're going to give you resources, put you all together, and let you guys just figure out what's cool. So they don't have a lot of people in the media have said, oh, this is their product, but it's really, how do you just take a lot of really smart people, give them freedom to explore science and see what comes out of it.
For sure. Absolutely. All right, cool. The last thing I want to talk to you is a bit philosophical. In Morgan Levine's eyes, why are we here? What is the purpose of all this, right? You're here. Okay, I know. So you're here, you're not here, you're there, but you're working in science and you're doing all these things and you're driving, and I'm sure you have a family, and you have friends and you have a life, and you go through all the little things that humans do, and I do the same thing, and everyone that's ever came before us. But at the end of the day, what is it all worth?
Yeah, for me, it's probably just a question of discovery. To me is the most exciting thing. Where can we push the boundaries of what is possible, what humans are capable of, and both discovery and understanding. How can we understand our world, ourselves? I mean, humans are very lucky to be blessed with very, high intelligence compared to other species, and
yes.
kind of this ability to self-reflect and be conscious, and how do we actually use that to continue to evolve and adapt our species to really be able to expand to things that nothing else is able to.
Right.
I mean, at least on this planet. I have no idea about.
Not
to get into extraterrestrials.
No, for sure. That's a whole nother world. Literally, no pun intended. but okay, but what is the actual, even though it's about discovery and growing and building, right? What is it? Let's say we created a perfect world, everything's perfect. Even a perfect world, what is the purpose of that? It's like Inception. We're just going deeper and deeper.
Just keep going. I don't know. I think, is anything perfect? I feel like you can continually, everything's going to be dynamic, right? You can continually change and evolve, even if it seems like you fixed everything, right? Nothing's stable forever.
So let's say this, right? We're doing this podcast, and the reason we're doing this podcast is for content for my show, to promote your brand. And it's we're doing this for an exact reason, right? If I go to build a house, or if I go to build a school, I'm building the school or house so someone or students will go to, because it's going to make money. And also I'm trying to, better the society, give other humans more options, right? So there's a direct result. When it comes to effort in general, what is the direct result that you think is the reasoning?
For me, for what I do, or for humans in general?
Just humans in general, from your humans in general, from your opinion.
I would say the only the direct thing, according to evolution, is just continue evolving and reproducing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think you have to think about, we always think of evolution operating on us as an individual, but it happens at every level, right? It happens in all the cells in our body, it happens as us as an individual, it happens at a higher level where populations are technically evolving and trying to overtake other populations of species or other things. So
yes,
I don't know if there is a predestined one except evolution, but that might be a biologist answer.
No, for sure. And I've said this before on the podcast, but I always say it. The way I express that question, right? If somebody were to ask me that exact question, it's when I walk on the grass and I look down at an anthill, you see all these little ants and they're like, oh, this ant is doing this. He's carrying a leaf. And then there's the queen ant and then they're fighting. And this ant is, attacking this other ant. And this ant's running away. And this is the slow ant. And this is the alpha ant, whatever, right? I feel like we're the ant pile of the universe. And for someone to ask you, what is the meaning of everything? It's kind of like asking an ant, how do humans operate, and what are stock markets and economists and science and schooling and socializing? Like, try explaining that to an ant. Like, ants will never understand humans. They probably, I'm sure they know they exist, I'm sure, because they bite the shit out of you. But like an ant is impossible. They don't have enough neurons in their brain to understand how humans interact, right? And then obviously there's like way smarter animals, of course, like dolphins and whales and stuff. But my point is they're not even capable of understanding what a human or even a dog can understand. And I feel as humans and Homo sapiens, that's kind of where we are at when understanding what the universe is and what everything is. So absolutely. I just feel that we're not even close to being as smart as we are. We're not even close to as smart as even Elon. Elon is like caveman level when it comes to understanding, like it would be like a caveman or a Neanderthal trying to understand literally like rocket science, literally, or crypto. Right? Try explaining cryptocurrencies. I barely
understand crypto.
Exactly, and you're at Yale, so imagine trying to explain that to a Neanderthal. So that's kind of how I view us trying to understand it. So, yeah, that's how I would answer it.
Yeah, no, I agree. We don't know anything. Like
nothing. No, there's still stuff on this planet that we're still discovering.
We don't even understand ourselves.
Barely. Yeah, I just figured out something about myself on this call. It's crazy.
A tiny fraction.
Well, listen, Morgan. I love talking to you. I could talk to you forever. How do people reach out to you if they want to get to know you better? They want to know about your work. What's the best way to reach out?
I'm on most social media, so I probably do Twitter more than other things, but also on Instagram. I think it's Dr. Morgan Levine on both. I also have a new book that came out May 3rd. If people want to learn more about
you have a book that just came out?
Yep.
Oh, I'm going to look it up right now. Hold on.
Yeah. I have a copy, actually. I will hold it up here. Not to be like super self-promotional, but it's called True Age.
True Age. What is it about for the viewers?
It's about aging. So like it's kind of two sections. The first section is talking about all, the molecular and cellular changes that happen, hypotheses about why we age, what aging means, all the kind of more theoretical, how we actually try and quantify and measure aging. And the second are all kind of the lifestyle and things that people at least have some evidence that they can do right now. And the last chapter is like, who knows, in the future, there might be
some of the crazy stuff that we talked about. Yeah. Is your book available like at Barnes & Noble? Is it in bookstores or it's only on Amazon?
It's in bookstores and Amazon, and there's an audiobook that I didn't read that someone else reads.
Oh, you didn't read your own audiobook?
I was going to, but then I didn't have time.
It's a lot of work.
Take 2 or 3 days away to go to New York and record it.
Yeah, it is a lot of work, but it is in Barnes & Noble.
I don't know if I want to hear my voice that much. So.
Your voice is pretty good. I think you would have done great. But yeah, it is it is very time consuming for sure. Is your book in Barnes & Nobles?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yes.
You think so? What do you mean? Who's your?
It is. Yes, it is. Sorry, I'm gonna get in trouble. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Next time I go to Barnes & Nobles quite often just because I love books and I just love bookstores in general. And I'm gonna look for your book and then I'm gonna send you a picture of it.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Morgan. Anything else before we end this thing? Any last words?
No, I think we covered even more than I thought we were going to. So that was great.
All right, guys. Well, you're here to hear, folks. From Morgan to Justin, this is the Justin Caviar Show, and we're out. Bye-bye, y'all.